Um, Basically, I'm going to be talking about, how to set up a customer advisory board. I'm going to talk about two key items as it relates to that. First, we'll look at what it is and some of the benefits of leveraging a customer advisory board for your company, some use cases that are out there, and what the specific use case was at Community America Credit Union. The second topic I'll really dive into is how to set up a customer advisory board, some of the challenges that you need to be aware of, how to plan and prepare for setting up an online customer advisory board, and the process that we used here. Right. So before we go into the first topic, I did want to talk a little bit about Community America Credit Union, where I've been working the last 4.5 years and where we put together this customer advisory board that we're going to talk about. So Community America Credit Union is headquartered in Kansas City, Missouri. We have 32 branch locations throughout the KC metro area. We've also launched in the St. Louis market recently as we're looking to expand our footprint. We offer every type of financial product that you can think of that you can get from a bank, and then some, including unique things like insurance and wealth management services. Our big mission is to deliver peace of mind to our members, and some of the unique ways that we go about doing this is we offer free financial coaching. We have what we call financial well-being coaches, and they meet with our members to help them learn how to credit, how to budget, improve their credit, and work on other financial goals. We also have community access centers, and what these are we basically partnered with local community colleges and nonprofits in the area to offer space for community members to go and take workforce development courses and finish out their high school education. There's also access to free community rooms that have Wi-Fi that people can use for school gatherings, hostings, and other types of events. And just a quick intro on me. So my name is Anjana Paul. I've worked in banking for the past 9 years. I have a product and research background. Really enjoyed the industry and being able to use technology and customer feedback to really move things forward. My role here is a mix of UX, CX, and it's sprinkled in with some market research. So I really feel like I get to dip my toes in a lot of different areas. I'm from the Midwest. That's where I've lived most of my life. And although I've always thought I would move, I'm still here. I think it's a great place to live, and it's relatively affordable compared to other areas of the US. I do love to travel. Recently came back from a trip to Japan, and fall is my favorite time of the year. You can see on the right, I've got a picture of me with Kai, who's my golden doodle, and Santa Claus. So those are just a couple of things about me. Let's go into what is a customer advisory board. So basically, a customer advisory board is made up of your customers. They could be a group based on a persona or several personas that you have, and that group provides you with regular feedback. It could be specific to a product that you offer, or it could be some other things as well. So some of the different business, it depends on your business goals. So some of those business goals maybe you're looking for something strategic. Those are usually made up of high impact customers that provide input on different business decisions. You may be looking to improve your customer satisfaction. So you might look at a cross section of your customers to get feedback on their level of satisfaction, find out what their pain points are. If you're building a new product or service or have an existing one that you're looking to improve, a customer advisory board can help you gather feedback for that. Or you may just want to start getting unbiased feedback because you haven't done so before from your customers and prospects, and you want to set up a advisory board. That's another goal that a advisory board can help you accomplish. All right. So there's a lot of different benefits of leveraging a customer advisory board to solicit feedback for your organization or your products. One thing that they can do is really help guide the product roadmap and help you prioritize features and capabilities. can help you understand consumer behavior to increase customer loyalty, identify buying triggers, or find new markets for your product. If you're looking to put out a new product, they're a great pool of users to use for like a beta test on your product. And when you're looking for that product market fit, a customer advisory board can help you understand the underlying motivations for buying the products that they choose and help you learn about the different problems that they're facing. If you believe that there's some opportunities within your sales process, an advisory board can help you identify what those areas of improvement could be. And probably the biggest benefit of having an advisory board is you can receive faster and real-time feedback from them. Okay, so let's look at a couple different examples of customer advisory boards and how they've been used in different companies. So the first example we have is MailChimp, which is an email marketing platform. They wanted to discover their customers' pain points and make use of their customers' feedback to help them improve their CX. So their advisory board is actually made up of 11 founders, entrepreneurs, and marketing leaders, and they serve on this board for a full year. Then there's Maze, which some of you might be familiar with. It's a product discovery platform that's used by researchers to gain research insights. So the purpose of their customer advisory board is to validate their ideas before bringing them into the market. Maze has a much bigger advisory board. It's made up of 90 of their members that fit their target audience. And these members meet monthly on a 30-minute Zoom call to share their feedback. Last, there's GitHub. So GitHub is a cloud-based platform that allows software developers to store and manage their code. They set up a customer advisory board to encourage learning and collaboration through DevOps transformations. And they have 30 members of their board, basically consists of executives or champions of DevOps within their company. And these members meet on a quarterly basis for 2 hours at a time. So last year at Comedian America, talking more about like our use case here is we started working on a new digital investing product, which was really exciting because it was the first digital product that the credit union came out that was built fully in-house by our developers. So our research team did a lot of market research. We looked at the data of our members that signed up for competitor products, and we actually went out and talked to them to find out their motivations for signing up for those services, what they liked about them, what they didn't like so much about them. And we did several rounds of interviews and testing before any development work actually even started. But with product and development teams, they work in agile sprints to build new features continuously. So we saw that there was going to be a need to do research throughout that product development process. We do use a testing platform that gives us access to participants across the US, but there aren't a whole lot of users that are our current customers within the Kansas City area. And we've really found a lot of value of talking to our customers when we initially reached out to them to interview them and talk about the competitor investing products that they use. So we really wanted to leverage that feedback. One of the options that we looked at into doing this was creating a market research online community. So these community platforms allow you to interact with participants and they complete different tasks, activities, and discussions. It's used a lot in qualitative research, but you can use it for quant as well by increasing the number of participants that you have on board. We really did like the communities platforms, but we were really hesitant to dive into it because it was pretty expensive. It would be our first time using it. And we already had an existing platform that we were paying for as well. So it kind of felt like doubling our expense there. So instead, what we thought is, hey, well, let's leverage what we have and what we know to build a way to gather insights from our members at a small scale. And we thought we could do that by basically setting up a customer advisory board. So now we'll go into like how we set up a customer advisory board and some best practices. So this is actually not the first time that our team has had experience with customer advisory boards. I specifically work in the innovation lab, and years ago, we worked with some third-party developers to help us create a tool that we called the college roadmap. Basically, what this tool was, it was a platform that was designed to help parents and students help plan and pay for college. We set up 2 different advisory boards for this. One was made up of about 10 different high school career counselors who we asked about a month before launching the tool to sit down and use it. And then we met them in a meeting at a branch location to give us feedback on the tool. We also worked with high school students. So these students actually we employed over the summer to create our board, and then they gave us feedback throughout that product development process of creating this tool. But the customer advisory board that we were looking at to build this for the investing product was going to be a lot different. First of all, it was the first time that we were specifically targeting our own members to join. There were other challenges and questions we had as well. So some of the ones that we had questions about or had challenges was we're living in a post-COVID world where participants are less inclined to do in-person meetups. And that's the way that our other advisory boards had been set up. So we knew we had to go online. Since this is the first time we were doing it, where there was also some concerns about how, if the participants were going to be engaged or not, and really give us that feedback that we were looking for. We didn't really know the time frame of how long this project was going to last. We had a tentative idea, but we couldn't really nail down at the time how long it would be before we launched. Then we had questions about, how many participants should we start with, and what's the right amount to compensate these participants for participating. And then there's also the question of who's going to manage the day-to-day and pay these participants. So basically, before we jumped into recruitment, there was a lot of planning and preparation that we had to do. So some of the things that we first did was we identified a team member within our team here that would be responsible for managing the day-to-day. So that would be basically engaging with the advisory board on a regular basis. We had to decide on a platform for what we would use to bring together this online customer advisory board. We actually did decide to go with Slack because of, as we reviewed other options that offered the most of what we were looking for. And then determining the group of customers that we wanted to recruit. So we already know the persona of the customers who we wanted to attract for this new investing product. And had their data that we could reach out to them. We also had to draft a communication plan. So there were several different communications that had to go out as far as like recruiting, as well as canned responses for certain questions and things like that. So we made sure that we lined all of that up and then set up a really good recruitment process for bringing on these new board members. Then we also did some of the organizational things like creating a tracking system. So building like a calendar of the different activities that we knew that would be involved with the board, as well as being able to track each of the participants who participated in different activities, as well as compensation. And then we wanted to keep a profile of each of the members of our advisory board as well, in case we needed to refer to it at any time. So here's kind of what the process looked like that we followed for our program. So this is the recruitment process. We basically identified about 2,300 of our customers that matched our persona to recruit via email. We sent one email to these individuals with the plan to follow up with the second one if need be. However, from that first email, we actually got 43 people to sign up to learn more about joining the customer advisory board. And then out of those 43, we had 22 who actually signed the NDA agreement. And then 19 of them joined our Slack channel. And then throughout the first, we actually had 18 total who participated throughout the customer advisory board. Our testing structure, this is kind of how it worked. So when we had an opportunity to get feedback on a different design or we had a question, we basically we figured out what type of structure worked best, research method worked best, and then we communicated it out to the Slack channel. And then we also sent an email follow-up to all the members as well. We used to capture the results. We used UserZoom or Alchemer, which is a survey tool, to capture the feedback, depending on what type of research method we chose. And then we tracked the responses using Excel spreadsheets, and we paid out participants within a week of their completion of the feedback activity. As far as the results, what I would say is from February to August, we completed the customer advisory board completed 14 different activities, feedback sessions. There was 72% average participation, and it cost us roughly $5,000 to pay our participants, as well as for the monthly Slack channel. The customer advisory board helped us identify roughly 16 usability concerns and helped inform 7 design decisions. We also found that using the customer advisory board also evoked high levels of buy-in for the feedback that they had from our business, product, and development teams as well. Looking back on the experience of setting up and utilizing this customer advisory board, I think the thing that we learned the most was, the 2 things that we learned the most was incentives. We probably paid out higher incentives that were necessary for each of these different activities. We ranged between $10 and $15, whereas I think we could have probably gotten away with paying $5 for each of these activities. And we learned that using that 2-channel approach of communication was highly effective. So when we put up an activity in our Slack channel and then sent an email, within, I would say, an hour of the email, we got over 70% of the responses done. The most surprising thing that we found was just the engagement level of our participants and the level of detail of their feedback. They gave really great feedback, and they weren't afraid to tell us when certain things didn't look as good as they could have. So next year, what we're looking to do is actually create like a new customer advisory board, a bigger one, to work on some of our bigger strategic projects. And some of the things that we need to do to scale would be basically the organization of the back-end processes. So improving the way we track our participants and the compensation, having some type of tool to help us pay and keep track of participants. And then because we're looking at scaling this and having more participants involved, we would want to do some type of test to ensure that they would give us good detailed feedback. So just some of the 3 things that we found as far as success factors for setting up an effective customer advisory board is that you have to have your leadership team fully brought in. So I have the luxury of having a manager who's really good at communicating up and getting them to see the value, the need for our advisory board. You also have to have one dedicated manager of the advisory board. Having that point person to check in and communicate with your advisory board members also streamlines the process, both internally and for your members, so they know who to talk to when there is a question. There was a lot that we didn't know when we set up our customer advisory board. For instance, we didn't know how many times a month that we would have to solicit them for some feedback. But we set up how how we communicate, and we tried to set up their expectations as much as possible and define that approach as much as possible to have it work as good as it could. And that's all I have. If you have any questions, I can take a couple questions. Also be happy to connect with you on LinkedIn as well.
Oh, I see a question in the chat, so I'll read it out. How did you pay the consumers this first year for their participation?
Yeah, so it was basically every time we had one of those feedback sessions, we would pay the participants who participated in that feedback session, and that could range from like $5 to up to $15. We used Amazon gift cards too. The members really seem to like that as well. Yeah, people seem to like gift cards, and they seem to like Amazon gift cards a lot, is what we learned. It's a little easier than Visa gift cards sometimes. The e-gift cards for Visa can be a little bit tricky, especially for small amounts.
Thank you for that question. Do we have any more questions in the chat? While we're waiting, I actually had some questions too. So I know that you talked about in-person groups and online groups. I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the pros and cons of having an in-person group versus an online only group.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, the pro of having an in-person, is you get to have all the body language as well. There, it's a little bit less awkward sometimes as well, to have them actually there. The pros of having, like it, online, is basically people can finish the feedback on their own time type thing. So it's a little bit more flexible, but sometimes you don't get as much depth as you would like to get as you could if they were actually in person with you in real time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we also had another question in the chat. How did you keep these customers engaged over time?
Yeah, I think we got really lucky with the people that we recruited on. They were pretty well engaged throughout the process. But the manager of this actually went through and would sometimes post different questions and things like our football team won the Super Bowl last year. So during that time, coming in, who's your favorite player? Or like, are you guys ready for the game? So just kind of like engaging him in that way when there wasn't really anything like feedback wise going on.
And another question here. What did you find the right number of contacts per month to keep engagement?
I would say if you can do something at least I'd say 3 times a month, that should be enough. We usually had at least 2 or 3 activities available each month. And then in the months that we had a little less, we would go in and, ask them questions and try to engage them in other ways. We also had some other teams from other groups who had questions or wanted feedback from our members. So we leveraged them for that as well, on top of leveraging for that investment product.
Perfect. Waiting for any more questions if we have them. All right, one more question here. When you have a consumer advisory board and you contact them for feedback multiple times, in your experience, did you notice any bias in their feedback? If so, how did you deal with that? I'm asking this because when they're recruited, they might have bias in their feedback.
We really didn't notice any real bias in the feedback that we were getting from our members. They were a little like, it's funny to say, but our members are a little bit different because they're very engaged with Community America as a brand as well. So I think that really helped us as well. It's like they really have a good feeling for our brand, and that's what helped them be engaged. And if anything, they were biased because they love our brand. Yeah, I can put my LinkedIn on the chat too.
Perfect. And then we have another question for you whenever you're ready.
Do you have a group of participants that could serve as backups? Yes, we do. So we kept that list of people who we initially reached out to. And then we had a bigger list than that. So in case we did need to have, add more people to it because we did find others who weren't participating, we could replace them with new ones as well.
What do you find to be like a good group size, or does it just depend on your like project objective?
Yeah, it really depends on your project objective. Our goal was to have it around 15 to 20 participants this time around because this was really a test. It was the first time we've done something like this to see if it works for one, and if it's effective, like look at that, and like if we need to scale, which we're doing next year because the project size is a lot bigger and we have more personas that we need to identify with those projects. So yeah, I would say it just depends. How did I find out? It's a little bit of an assumption that I'm making because if we just had really good engagement and good feedback from our members, that I don't think that they really needed a bigger carrot to give us that feedback per se. But definitely we'll, as we build this bigger board, we'll test some of those ideals too.
All right, any more questions from anybody? Okay, it looks like the questions have stopped, but thank you so much for putting your LinkedIn in there and for this really amazing presentation. We'll just go on a break now until our 2 o'clock presentation, but thank you again so much for sharing this with us.
Thank you. Awesome. It was great. Thanks, everybody.